Have you ever experienced this? Metal objects, the longer you use them, the weaker the welds become. They look solid at first, until one small hit makes everything fall apart. If you've run into this situation, don't worry anymore. Let me think of a solution for you. Alright, I've got an idea. So, why don't we try making a homemade welding machine? I already have a basket full of spark plugs right here. We'll pick an old one with all its parts intact, except for the connector tip. This spark plug won't go to waste. We're going to reuse it as the welding tip for a DIY welding machine. In my hand is an electrical terminal block. From this block, we'll remove a single-phase metal connector. This small part won't be wasted. We'll use it as an intermediate connector to link the threaded end of the spark plug to our homemade welding tip. Next, in my hand I have an AA battery. And you might be wondering, just like I did at first, could the core inside this tiny battery actually be used as a homemade welding tip? Sounds risky at first. But here's the interesting part. Science doesn't reject this idea. According to material analyses discussed in scientific literature, battery cores are often made from metals with good electrical conductivity, and they can withstand relatively high temperatures for short periods of time. Beyond that, their solid structure, compact size, and ability to concentrate heat at a single point make them a surprisingly reasonable intermediate material when viewed purely from the perspective of physics and material science. So at least in theory, this isn't a random experiment, but an idea grounded in clear scientific reasoning. As for shaping the welding tip from an AA battery core, you can follow my actions directly on the screen in this video. So now, a simple homemade welding tip, made from nothing more than a battery core, has officially come to life. Next, we'll attach this welding tip to the other end of the connector, to complete the connection between the tip and the threaded end of the spark plug. Here, I already have a single electrical wire ready to connect the welding tip to the power source. If you work with electrical systems, or you've experimented with DIY electronics before, you probably already know how this connection works. But if you're new to this, or you don't have much experience with electronics, don't worry. By the end of this video, you'll understand the basic wiring concept, enough to follow along safely and confidently. To keep the electrical connection safe during welding and prevent it from loosening or breaking, we should secure it with electrical tape. Specifically, wrap part of the wire firmly around the body of the spark plug so the connection stays stable throughout the entire operation. As for the other end of the wire, we'll attach a simple alligator clip. This way, when connecting to the positive terminal of the power source, the process becomes much easier, faster, and more convenient. If you don't want to burn your hand by touching the spark plug directly, I recommend using a large alligator clip, about half the size of an adult hand. Clamp it onto the body of the spark plug. It helps you hold it firmly, while avoiding direct contact with heat, making the process much safer. Next, I'll make an additional connector for the negative terminal of the power source. It's simply a single electrical wire, with two smaller alligator clips attached to both ends. The setup makes connecting to the negative terminal quick, flexible, and much more convenient during operation. The power source I'm using to supply energy for this homemade welding device is a small-sized battery. It's compact, easy to connect, and most importantly, it can deliver enough current. 4 basic welding tests and demonstrations. Usually, when you first start using it, the welding tip may feel slightly damp, and that's completely normal. So all you need to do is heat it briefly until it dries out, and once it stabilizes, it's ready to be used right away. Before moving on to welding the detached handle of this coffee filter, I'll run a simple test first, so keep watching. Let's see how this homemade welding tip actually performs in real use. This small test isn't bad at all. The 2 razor blades are firmly bonded together, almost as if they were a single piece. But let's not stop here. I'm going to weld one more blade onto it, just to see if it can still hold up the same way. That's great. The result this time is pretty solid. The weld is strong and secure, with just the right amount of heat, without damaging the razor blade. That demonstration is more than enough. And now, it's time to move on to the part everyone's been waiting for: welding the broken handle of this coffee filter back together. The handle of this coffee filter has now been welded back securely. It's no longer loose, no longer fragile like before. What once seemed ready to be thrown away, with a bit of creativity and a few ordinary components, has gained a second life. And sometimes, the real value isn't the result itself, but the fact that you dare to try and fix it.